I hope you are all having an amazing day or whatever. Just know that you are loved, appreciated, accepted, heard, seen, very much so. As a part of the whole, as a part of the tapestry. So, ever since I posted that video, my last video about Teal being a part of the Coven, the Coven is it's a group. I guess you can look at it, you have to look at it at different levels. There is the material level, which, there's form. Those forms have abilities. They tap into their greater selves, like I have, and then they use those abilities. These individuals also exist in different forms, just like myself, and you too. You exist in different dimensions. You have an astral body or an emotional body. You have a mind. It's not really a body, but it's a sense of self. And you can tap into those different levels, and then the God. You can tap into those different levels, and you can gain knowledge, wisdom, powers, and abilities. The ability to see the future, the ability to read minds, the ability to move matter. There's all kinds of different things you can gain by going into these other aspects of self. So the Coven that exists here in the material realm, it also exists in the bigger realm, because to me the earth was created as a simulation mirror of the greater universe, because the old system of the old universe needed to shift and change out of this repetitive cycle of predator-prey, because it was a continuous carousel loop of hell and we weren't getting off, and neither the victim nor the predator were healing. They weren't coming out of their state of being at any level, whether that's the physical, the emotional, the mental, or even at the God level, the faces of God. Not the real God, but I'll go into that in a different video. But this Coven that Teal and others are a part of was created to hold, enslave individuals into this state of victim. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey, because the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and that's what I do believe happened here. I believe that the intentions were, now that I've gone into the mother perspective, I went into the mother perspective, looked at that, healed that. I'm still working through that. And then once I post that video about Teal, I have been sick for days. I went into some serious shit. But it was good because I had to understand their perspective, that point of view, because in reality it is a part of me, the greater me. If you can expand your mind that much, that one's a difficult one, I understand. But ever since I posted that video, I've been out, like deathly sick, massive headaches, solar plex issues, all kinds of shit. So what I've realized with this Coven, their intentions may have been good to start, and I think this goes all the way to the mother perspective. As a mother, you have your children. You carry them for however many months you carry them before you birth them. Then the physical umbilical cord is disconnected between you and that child, because that child must exist on its own. It cannot stay connected to you. Otherwise, you would look like, depending on how many kids you had, but let's say you had like 3 kids, you would be an octopus with 3 kids connected to you if you kept a hold of that physical umbilical cord. You don't do that. It's cut immediately, so that child is now outside of the mother, and it has to exist outside of the mother. The problem is that I saw at the root of this is that, and I've talked about this before, is that the mothers do not disconnect the umbilical cord on an energetic level. And because of that, not only on a material plane experience, but also in the greater experience as God the Mother, she was literally still connected to everyone and everything, as those are my children, I'm responsible for them. The problem with that is that you then create a bunch of dependence. You look like a giant squid or an octopus because you have all these connections to all these beings that are now dependent on you for their energy and to make decisions and choices for them. And then the other problem is when you do disconnect from them, then they rebel. This is not a good connections. This is very toxic. And this part of this has been dismantled, cut, all that stuff. On an ethereal level, God level, whatever level you want to look at it there. But for me, in order to be in energy and understand an energy or understand something, I go into the energy, no matter what it is. Because I realize, and that please do not do this, if you're not skilled in energy and you can't handle pain or just intense emotions, you're not ready for that, do not do this. This is not for people that are not ready. So please, I'm putting a warning right now. Okay? For me, I've been doing this long enough. This is part of who I am. But when I want to know something about someone or an energy, I go into that energy, no matter how difficult that energy is, because I want to experience that energy so that, number one, I have that wisdom and that knowledge. And therefore, okay, now it's a part of me, therefore it has no hold or hold on me or any type of control over me. The other thing is so I can understand, what happened to it. What happened? What made you this way? How did you get this way? How can we fix this? Because if you don't understand what happened, then you can't fix it. You have to get to the root of the problem. Otherwise, you never cure the problem. You can't put a Band-Aid on a giant wound. You'll never heal it. So I went into this God the Mother perspective to understand, okay, what happened to you? Why are you in this state of almost nothingness, of death, of despair, of darkness? And it was because of that giant squid connected to everyone and everything, because those are her children. God the Mother loves her children. She doesn't want to let them go. She doesn't want them to be harmed or hurt or anything like that. So I think her mentality was hold on to everyone, and therefore I can ensure that everyone's safe. Problem is that it drained her. It created a cycle of codependency, and all of the energy that was siphoned off of the mother, there was no positivity sent back to her, no love. This is one of the things that I really, really take to heart is the, praying just to God the Father. We should be praying to Father, Mother. And that's what I say, and that's one of the things I think it's from the Unity Church, I'm not 100% sure, was Father, Mother, God. That's the Holy Trinity. It's Father, Mother, God. It's masculine, feminine, God. It's not the Holy Son or Spirit, Son, Holy Spirit, Father. That's half of a triangle. That's only half of your family. That doesn't even make sense. It could be, it's one side of the ladder. But anyway, so what I started to do by healing this God the Mother perspective, and I ask that you mothers do this as well, if you feel guided to do so, is look at your children and the connections you have with them. If you still have an umbilical cord connection to them, depending on how old they are, I too understand as infants, you need to create that bond. And your children need to know that you're a safe You're their safety. You're their safety net. They are protected with you, that you love them unconditionally. At some point, though, you need to cut that umbilical cord. You need to cut that connection with them, because you've got to understand that they have to grow into a sense of self. And they, in essence, in reality, are a child of God. And they need to connect back to that God essence, that God energy. That they cannot be dependent only on you for their energy source. This one's going to be a tough one, because I know a lot of mothers want to stay connected to their children, and I do get a lot of pushback with that. And trust me, that was difficult for me when I was ascending, or I was, going through this process, was letting go of my children. Well, no, I don't want to do that. But God made it clear to me that they are my children, that you are my child as well, and you are holding them back from their evolution by holding on to them. And at some point you do have to let them go, so that they can be their own sense of self and not be bound to you and try to mimic or mirror or be you or take on you. So I understood that, and I was able to, sever the bonds, sever the ties. Now, does that mean that I'm disconnected from my kids? Absolutely not. It just means that they're not beholden to me for their energy source. They are connected directly to God. They are creating from their own sense of self, their own imagination, their own sense of being, not from me. And so, back to the coven. The coven, once I got through the sickness part, which is when it wasn't a really how do I describe this? It's, everything to me is energy. It doesn't start here in the material, it ends in the material. It starts beyond in the other dimensions. For instance, I had a thought of going into the mother energy, and then once I went into the mother energy, then I took on that energy and I understood the mother, then I started healing it, then I started peeling back all the layers of the mother to understand why. And then I got to this coven of witches, warlocks, vampires, and energies like that. Now, I've always had this thing of, I'm not really big on witches. I know for a fact that my mother is a witch. My daughter does witchcraft, and I had a family member that was one of the witches that was burned. And that left a wound in the mother, that left a wound in the feminine, left a wound in myself, witches, that's funny. The feminine has been so oppressed and suppressed. We have such incredible abilities, intuitively, the things that we can do, like magic and manifesting, that they were looked down upon, and people labeled witchcraft as bad, as a problem, and that's why they burned all those women. Which, here's the thing, anything can be turned into a positive or a negative. The Bible, that can be used as a weapon, negative, or as a way of growing, positive. The same with witchcraft. There's white witchcraft, I think, and then black witchcraft. There's spells. There is magic that I do. I don't do anything to anyone else because I honor free will, and I know for a fact that when you use your abilities and you use your powers against others, that you will reap what you sow, and that is against free will. So I won't do that. So I was fearful of this witchcraft and having these abilities, because every time I've come out, and I'm sure some of you have had this experience as well, especially as the feminine, because we house most of these abilities, that when you come out and you present them to the world, you become a witch, or you're a witch, or you casted a spell on me, or you did something to me, or you're evil. And that label has caused us and caused me to go back into my shell, because, oh my God, I don't want to be labeled that. I most certainly don't want to be, a martyr, or not even a martyr, but I don't want to be like, ostracized because of it, because of who I am. And honestly, I think it's bullshit. I think that the fact that we've had to hide our powers and our abilities and pretend to be small, is just, it's been an absolute hindrance on the feminine and also on society and the universe. Because the truth is that when God created the universe, and listen, put on your guidance system, if it rings true to you, great, but if not, that's fine too, okay? You do your own research. I'm all about you do you, boo, okay? But what God showed me was the great two hands, the right and the left hand. God the Father, God the Mother, they're equal. They were of equal weight. They were divine. They weren't light and dark. They didn't start out that way. They're not going to end that way either. Not at this level, not at the divinity level. Light and dark is a polarity concept that puts you back into the polarity game. So the mother and the feminine is now coming out of this polarity cycle, this polarity illusion that a lot of things, you're bad, you're wrong, you shouldn't exist, you're not worthy, you're dark, you're evil, all these things, they're just not true at all. Your abilities, your psychic abilities, your whatever is beautiful. And actually, God the Mother is more of like the God the Father. At their divine level, they're like translucent. They're like a soap bubble, or like a flame. They're clear. There's no light or dark at the divine level. They're pure. So the fact that the divine feminine has fallen so far to think that she is dark, yes, there's truth there, okay? Because it wouldn't exist if it wasn't true at some level. Yes, there is the dark. Yes, there is bad. There are things that happen that are negative, and it can be on the light or the dark side. It doesn't matter. There are people that are on the light side that are really evil. So that's not the thing here. But the feminine has been pushed down so much to think that we're not of equal weight to a masculine. And that's just not the case at all. It was never created like that. That was done by design here to keep feminine in a state of submission. We're coming out of that. We're coming out of that cycle, coming out of that way of thinking. Thank God. Because it's really toxic. And right now, maybe some of you are feeling this. We've literally, it's like being in the river and you've just walking around and all the soot comes up into the water. The water's not clear. That's where we're at in this phase. It's a part of the healing process, is when you bring up all this stuff that hasn't been brought up in a long time, these thoughts, these beliefs, these emotions, these traumas, all this stuff is bubbling to the surface for it to be, for it to be seen, heard, understood, accepted, and then let go. So, and part of that is the coven. Part of that is taking on the coven, taking on that energy and understanding all of those energies, the vampires, which they do exist, by the way. No, I guess that's another topic for another time. Witches, warlocks, all these other energies. Not to be afraid of them. I do not fear them, because fearing them would mean that they have some type of control or hold on me, and they don't. I love them. I just needed to understand them from their perspective on who they are, why they do what they do. Now that I have that understanding, now there's a mutual understanding between us, and that's it. Like it's like, okay, there's no, the energy between us is clear. And that's when it's like forgiveness. That's where healing is done, is when it's just, okay, cool, we move on. So anyway, I don't know if any of that made sense. Again, I'm in like this soot, like you're in the middle of the tornado. I mean, everything's flying around. It's like one thing after another right now. So hang in there. You got this. I'm going to do a couple more videos. It's been a lot of stuff that's come up. So I'm excited to hear what's going on with you. I'm sending you lots of love and healing. Just sit in it. Okay? Sit in it. Let it work through. Let this process work through, because it's teaching you something. You're learning something right now. You're always learning, but this is a very important part of the process, that what we're going through on the feminine, because the feminine is rising, coming out of this state of victim, coming out of this state of stasis, stoic, and moving into more of her power. And not from a place of, I want to be in control. It's more of I am in control because I am. And it's through pure love. It's totally different. So, all right, I love you very, very much. Have a great day. Bye.